April 11th, 1994, Imola, Italy, Formula One. The San Marino Grand Prix weekend unfolded under bright spring skies at the Imola circuit. For 33-year-old Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger, it was a defining moment. He was qualifying for his first-ever Formula One race, driving for the small Simtech team. On his seventh flying lap, Ratzenberger approached the Villoresi curve at more than 190 miles per hour. Moments earlier, his car had likely sustained damage to its front wing after striking a curb. As he entered the corner, the weakened wing failed completely, stripping the car of downforce. The Simtech left the racing line and slammed head-on into the concrete wall. Medical teams reached the scene within seconds, but the impact had caused a fatal basal skull fracture. Ratzenberger died shortly afterward at a nearby medical facility. His death stunned the paddock. The following day, Ayrton Senna would also lose his life on the same circuit. Together, the two tragedies forced Formula One to confront its safety failures, leading to sweeping regulatory reforms that reshaped the sport permanently. March 18, 1969, Cleveland, Ohio, USA, baseball. Spring training was underway at a Cleveland stadium under low, uneven lighting conditions. Ray Chapman, a 29-year-old pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, stepped into the batter's box during a routine practice session. At the time, pitchers and batters did not wear protective helmets, a common practice in early professional baseball. As a pitch was delivered, the ball struck Chapman directly in the head. Witnesses described the sound as a sharp crack, different from a usual contact with a bat. Chapman collapsed immediately and was rushed to hospital, where surgeons attempted emergency procedures to relieve pressure on his brain. Despite their efforts, Chapman died the following morning from severe brain injuries. He remains the only Major League Baseball player to lose his life as a direct result of an on-field incident. In the years that followed, his death accelerated the adoption of mandatory batting helmets, permanently changing players' safety standard in baseball. August 29, 1994, Brands Hatch, England, motorcycle racing. The national championship race at Brands Hatch took place under overcast skies, with a track cool but dry. 27-year-old Grand Prix rider Simon Pryor lined up among a tightly packed field, all pushing hard through the opening laps. Brands Hatch was known for its fast corners and limited runoff, leaving little margin for error. On lap 6, as Pryor approached a high-speed bend, his motorcycle suddenly lost traction. The rear wheel stepped out, and the bike slid sideways across the tarmac. Unable to recover control, Pryor was thrown from the machine as it continued into the barrier at speed. He landed on the racing line. Seconds later, another rider, with no time to react, struck him. Track marshals reached the scene almost immediately, but Pryor had sustained catastrophic chest injuries. He was pronounced dead at the circuit. In the aftermath, officials reviewed the corner's design, and additional runoff areas were installed to reduce the risk of similar incidents in future races. July 2, 2000, Santa Cruz, California, USA, surfing. The Mavericks Invitational took place under rare and extreme conditions off the coast of Santa Cruz. Massive swells rolled in from the Pacific, producing waves with faces estimated at over 50 feet high. Only experienced big-wave surfers were allowed to enter the water, and safety teams on jet skis waited nearby. Mark Fu, a 36-year-old professional surfer known for his calm approach and respect for heavy surf, paddled into position early in the heat. After successfully dropping into a large wave, Fu lost balance during the ride and wiped out near the bottom of the face. The force of the wave drove him deep underwater. As he struggled to resurface, his leash snapped, separating him from his board, his primary flotation and visibility marker. Another wave followed, holding him down again. Rescue jet skis reached the area within minutes and pulled him from the water, but he was unconscious. Despite immediate resuscitation efforts, Fu was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause was ruled drowning. In the years following his death, flotation vests became mandatory in big wave surfing competitions to improve survival chances in similar conditions. May 9, 1984, Lake Placid, New York, USA, bobsleigh. Olympic training runs were underway at the Lake Placid sliding track as teams prepared for upcoming international competition. The West German bobsleigh team completed repeated high-speed descents, refining steering and braking through the course's tight curves. Conditions were cold and clear, with the ice running fast. During one run, the sled entered a sharp turn at speed. Witnesses saw the rear of the sled lose stability as it climbed the wall of the curve. Within seconds, the sled overturned violently, ejecting 23-year-old athlete Andreas Osler. Osler was thrown clear of the sled and struck the ice wall headfirst. Track officials and medical staff reached him almost immediately and began emergency treatment. Despite their efforts, he had sustained catastrophic head injuries and was pronounced dead shortly afterward. The accident sent shockwaves through the bobsleigh community. Subsequent investigations led to major redesigns of sled restraint systems and improvements in helmet construction, aiming to better protect athletes during high-speed crashes on icy tracks. March 27, 1989, Garmisch-Partenkirchen, Germany, skiing. Downhill training was underway on the Kandahar course in Garmisch-Partenkirchen ahead of a World Cup race. Weather conditions were clear, and the course had been prepared to championship standards, with hard-packed snow and high speeds expected. Ulrike Meyer, a 26-year-old Austrian World Cup skier and one of the sport's rising stars, began her training run shortly after midday. As she approached a high-speed section of the course, Meyer lost control following a small bump that unsettled her skis. She was thrown off a racing line and left the prepared slope at full speed. Moments later, she collided with a television camera platform positioned near the course boundary. Medical teams stationed along the run reached her within seconds, but the impact had caused catastrophic internal injuries. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The tragedy stunned the skiing world. In the aftermath, race organizers reassessed broadcast safety procedures, and strict new rules were introduced governing camera placement and protective barriers along downhill courses. June 7, 1971, Indianapolis, Indiana, USA, auto racing. Practice sessions were underway at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as drivers prepared for the upcoming race. Pete Revson, a 32-year-old American driver and former Indianapolis 500 competitor, took his car out for a high-speed lap under clear conditions. The track was dry, and Revson was pushing the car to test its limits. Midway through the lap, the vehicle suffered a sudden mechanical failure. Witnesses saw the car veer off its line and strike the barrier at full speed. On impact, the fuel system ruptured, and the car immediately burst into flames. Rescue crews and track marshals reached the wreckage within seconds, but the fire was intense. Revson was trapped inside the cockpit as smoke and flames engulfed the car. Despite rapid response efforts, he suffered severe burns and smoke inhalation. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward. The accident deeply affected the racing community and accelerated the adoption of fire-resistant driving suits and improved fuel safety standard across professional motorsport. May 23, 1996, Tokyo, Japan, Judo. A university judo tournament was underway in Tokyo, drawing students from across the region to compete in a series of elimination matches. 19-year-old Keiji Aoyama entered the mat for an early round bout, facing an opponent of similar experience and size. The atmosphere inside the gymnasium was focused and quiet, with spectators seated close to the competition area. During an exchange, Aoyama was caught off balance and thrown forcefully by his opponent. He landed headfirst on the mat, his neck absorbing most of the impact. Officials immediately halted the match as he remained conscious but disoriented, unable to move. Medical staff reached him within moments, and immobilized his neck before transporting him to a nearby hospital. Doctors later diagnosed catastrophic spinal trauma resulting from the throw. Despite emergency treatment, Aoyama's condition deteriorated rapidly, and he died later that evening. The incident sent shockwaves through the judo community. In the years that followed, governing bodies revised rules surrounding throw execution and safety requirements at junior and university levels, placing greater emphasis on controlled technique and athlete protection. September 5, 2013, La Coruña, Spain, cycling. The race entered the outskirts of La Coruña under clear skies and dry road conditions. It was the final third of the stage, and the peloton had begun to stretch as riders pushed for position along a narrow urban section. Marcos Rodriguez, a 28-year-old professional cyclist, was riding near the front group when a support vehicle slowed unexpectedly ahead of him. Witnesses later reported that the car drifted closer to the racing line while attempting to navigate around a bend. Rodriguez had no time to react. His front wheel struck the rear of the vehicle at speed. He was thrown violently over his handlebars and landed headfirst on the asphalt. Medical teams stationed nearby reached him within moments. He was conscious but unresponsive as he was loaded into an ambulance and transported to a nearby hospital. Surgeons attempted emergency procedures to control internal bleeding, but his injuries were extensive. Rodriguez died later that evening from traumatic internal injuries. In the weeks that followed, race organizers reviewed convoy protocols, increasing minimum distance requirements between cyclists and support vehicles to reduce the risk of similar incidents. March 18, 1967, Cape Town, South Africa, motor racing. At 4:15 p.m., during the South African Grand Prix, 32-year-old double world champion Jim Clark guided his Lotus 49 down a fast section of the Kyalami circuit. The track was dry, the sky clear, and visibility unobstructed. Clark had led comfortably earlier in the race, and his car showed no obvious signs of trouble. As he accelerated onto the straight, the Lotus suddenly veered to the right without warning. Witnesses saw the car leave the asphalt at high speed and slam into an embankment bordering the track. The impact destroyed the front of the vehicle instantly. Rescue crews arrived within moments, but Clark had suffered fatal injuries on impact. Investigators later suggested a sudden tire failure or mechanical defect as the most likely cause. The loss of Jim Clark stunned the motorsport world and exposed the dangers drivers faced even in seemingly controlled conditions, accelerating future efforts to improve racing safety.